A few years ago, I loved making 3D characters. A lot. Since I was a kid, I always was trying to draw my own custom characters for fun. And yes, I know that I'm not the best painter, but one day, I learned how to model. And then, it was when everything began. I wondered how these characters were made, what software they use, so I started my research. I discovered a free one, but without internet in my country, my father had to send it to me from the US. I learned the basics of 3D, and then I started making characters like this, from creepy monsters, animals, to cartoon versions of myself. And while looking at my last model, I thought, what would it look like now if I give it an upgrade? With that in mind, it's time to start working on it. And the first things I need to do is to grab a knife and make some toast. A bit of oil and salt and I'll have enough energy to work for the next 20 minutes. Now then, begin the first phase of the creative process. Consume. Pinterest is great for an initial brainstorm and for making those first creative decisions. However, there was a question in my head that kept pulling my attention away. It's been more than a year since I made my last model. How do I know if I can still do it? At that very moment, my answer would have always been the same, that I don't know. Facing a creative project when you become an adult feels entirely different. Your responsibilities change, your motivation shifts, even your energy gets divided into thousands of micro decisions, doubts, and insecurities. I was a totally different creature when I was 12 or 15 years old, back when my only concern was passion projects and experimenting, without even being aware of the passing of time. Right now, I feel the friction of the real world. I have to accept the reality I'm living, and understand that I don't need to have all the answers to my questions, just embrace it. But life can be very funny sometimes. I enjoy walking. It really helps me spark better ideas, but that time it was different. I received a call that would change the course of my life forever. In that moment, everything was clear. The time I had left wasn't much, and if you're seeing this, it means I had to hurry. I needed to come up with a plan as fast as I could, trying to find a way to make this project work before leaving everything behind. But my mind was still a mess, so I realized it was time to learn again. I went to watch some tutorials and refresh some old concepts. How to make Blender has changed a lot since I made my last character. New techniques and new things to learn. I'm lucky that Danny Max is still uploading videos. Okay, I think I have done. After taking a shower and having some coffee, I got to work. The final goal was very clear. Create a new character from scratch. Take the necessary steps to make something decent and have enough time to edit this video. With so many things to do, I was sure of one thing. If I stop now, it will all in vain. Time left, 25 days before the flight. Let's begin with the first step. The model. I always start with a sphere and keep adjusting it until it takes the shape of a real head. For the eyelids, I like using the seashell technique. I place one seashell, or maybe two. I merge them with the base model and create the base of nose and lips. Second step, using a tool I had been missing, ZBrush. For high detail sculpting, nothing beats ZBrush. Using the Blender model as a base, I refine the shapes and facial details. After finishing that, I reach my favorite part, step 3, texture. I love these parts, painting the skin, shadows, highlights, detailing even the tiniest features like a real painter. Every wrinkle, every pore, manually crafting an original piece. I export my model back to Blender to move on to step 4. The eyes. The easiest way is to start with white spheres and apply textures on them, but I wasn't fully convinced, so I looked for another way. I used this free asset called Tiny Eyes, totally procedural. I used alpha texture for the eyelashes to bring life to the eyes. Step 5. The hair. At first I planned to use particle systems, but a new feature grabbed my attention. Geometry nodes. Learning some of these new concepts was challenging, but the final result was gorgeous. Hair done. Almost everything was finished, but if I wanted to go further, there was one final step. Clothes. This was a process I always tried to avoid, so I really had no idea how to do this right. But in the meantime, I had to find the perfect outfit. I was looking for something cool, but something that represented me a little bit. Maybe? And beneath layers and layers of clothes, I found my favorite coat. This one was perfect. So the only thing left was to learn a completely new software. Marvelous Designer. I watched some tutorials to try to replicate the shape of my coat, joining seams and simulating fabric. I have never worked like this before, but it was really satisfying, and I learned how to make a zipper. Where I'm going, it's very cold, so I decided to add some details like a thermal shirt and a hood, and of course, better materials to resist the weather. And lastly, I wanted to add my waist bag. To be honest, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just applied the same concept I used for the zipper. I think it works. I realized I was almost at the end of the road, but just before finishing, I had an exceptional idea. So I would need one last ride. I drove through the streets of Havana, searching for one place where I could make my art a little more tangible. My home is full of family portraits, but before leaving my home for good, I left them my final piece.